Well, Magic Round is now officially behind us, and what a awesome weekend of footy it was. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself if you headed over there. But it is round 10 and it's Women in League round, and we've got plenty of ins and outs to talk about as well as some injury news. So let's get straight into it.
It's time to strap in and get ready. You're now listening to the Insight NRL show with your hosts, Brain, Metrics, and Whisperer.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Insight NRL show. I am the Supercoach Brain, and I'm here to bring you all of the ins and outs from TLT. It is about 4:05 as we record this one, and we're going to share it on our screen. We're going to go through all of the ins and outs that you need to know to be on top of all of your fantasy Supercoach game day squad, dream team, whatever it is, competitions that you're playing, or maybe you just want to stay on top of what your team's doing in the NRL this week and who they're playing. We've got that covered for you. But before we do, the show, as always, is brought to you by Game Day Squad. Game Day Squad are the perfect crossover between card collecting and fantasy sports, and you can play and win for free. You can collect, you can trade, you can buy and sell player cards and build yourself a squad to compete against your friends and the Game Day Squad community with up to $100,000 in prizes as well. So sign up to Game Day Squad today. Use the code IFSAUS. Get yourself 3 9-player common packs to get kick started. And the best part about Game Day Squad as well, guys, is that you do not need to have started in round 1 to be competitive. You can get started now in round 10. You can put together a good squad. And like I said, there's plenty of prizes on offer. So get started with Game Day Squad, use the code and take us on. Now, let me share my screen and let's cover all of the ins and outs from Women in League round. That is round 10. And we'll start things with the Eels and the Finns. Now, as we open things up straight away, we do see here Matt Dury comes on to the bench, but there aren't really any other noticeable changes for the Eels as we go through their lineup. The big news that's come to light recently in the last few days is that Zach Lomax is eyeing a round 12 return, which is interesting. So that puts him really touch and go for Origin 1 for New South Wales. If he was fit, I would have thought that the spot on the right wing was his, but there's question marks now that are going to start to pop up around him not playing any footy in the lead up to Origin 1 and whether Laurie Daly wants to run with someone like a Carraz who would likely be partnering his teammate, Stephen Crichton, at right centre there. So, yeah, some things to start considering with your trades this week. Do you buy Carraz? Do you not? That's definitely going to be on the tip of everyone's tongues. Otherwise, guys, we've got Sean Russell, Penasini in the centres, Addo Carr and Simonson on the wings. Obviously, the same halves pairing here. And for the most part, Riley Smith still in the hooker jersey in number 9. Junior Bolo starting in the prop in number 10 jersey. We've got Guymer, Katoga and Hopgood there. So not many changes there for the Eels. You do see Matt Dory coming onto the bench there for Sam Tuivasa. So that is the only likely change we'll see. Ryan Madison in the reserves there, but I can't imagine we're going to see too many changes that are late that are going to catch us out. As we'll see here, Jeremy Marshall-King's out of the team again here. So Hammer, they've got the same back 5 here for the Finns. But we see Kurt Donahue come back into the team, so definitely good when you've got JMK missing to have a guy like Donahue come in. We've also got Felice Kafusi's back from injury, so he slots straight back into the front row rotation there. Finafuiaki and Lemuelu in the edges with Tom Gilbert locking the scrum. That is a change from the last week, so we've seen Gilbert playing on an edge a fair bit. We're seeing him go back to what I would consider to be more a familiar 13 jersey for him. And Lemuelu's been fantastic off the bench there, so it makes sense for him to come in likely on that left edge. So, yeah, will definitely be someone that we'll be looking at in the future and not really much to speak of on the bench there. Sean O'Sullivan is the guy there, obviously, to come onto the bench. So let's move on to the Knights versus the Titans. We'll give our tips as well. For the first game, it's a tough one to pick because obviously the Eels haven't been playing their best footy, but they still are missing Max Plath. So I do like the Eels to win in this one. Obviously the bookies are just favouring slightly, but it's not bad odds. And it is at CommBank Stadium. I feel like the Eels play some pretty good footy there. So let's take the Eels in game 1. Knights versus the Titans in game 2. It is at McDonald Jones Stadium Friday, 6 p.m. And we'll see absolutely no changes for the Knights, which is fantastic. Ponga and Sharp had a really good connection there, and they're starting to get going. We did see some good footy from them last week versus Souths. Let's see if they can put it together again versus the Titans. I'd like to bet money on it that they should. So we see the same back 5, the same halves pairing, Jack Cogger in the 7 there. We don't see Tyson Gamble make his way back into this team. So obviously the preferred option there in Jack Cogger in the 7 jersey. Saifidi and Leo Thompson up front, Phoenix Crossland at hooker, and then the same edges and the same lock. Dylan Lucas has been fantastic upon his return as well, so we'll expect to see plenty more of him in the future. And then the bench there is no changes and nothing really grabbing me on the extended bench there. Thomas Cant still in the 18 jersey, so looking like a guy who could probably make his way onto the bench if we do see any last-minute injuries, specifically to guys like Matt Croker or Adam Elliott. So one to keep an eye on there. But likely in your fantasy comps, I'd say Thomas Cant would have been a sell last week. For the Titans, we do see Jojo Fafita come back into the side onto the wing, which is a good grab for them. But the big news here for the Titans is that Jaden Campbell is back in the 7 jersey. He is back about a week early. So that is fantastic news for the Titans. They've been missing him dearly. There was rumour that we were going to see Kieran Foran, but I don't see Kieran Foran here. He's not back in this one, sadly. So the Titans, but a big grab there for them to get Jaden Campbell back. Mo Fodawaker, RCG in the front row, Haas, Firma in the back row with Tino at lock, and then the same bench as last week. So, I'm thinking the Knights are my tip in this one. I'm really struggling to see where the Titans are going to start to put this together. Jaden Campbell is a huge in for them, but I'm just not sure it's enough. We'll see some momentum from the Knights from last week, getting their first win in a while. They've been playing some pretty poor footy, so expect the Knights to put it together. Rabbitohs versus the Broncos in the next one at Accor, 8 p.m. Friday. And I'm expecting the Broncos to get this one done. You can see then on the screen, no real changes to speak of, and a couple of big changes that are going to hurt the Rabbitohs. Pete Mamazelis is out with that dislocated elbow, so they're going to miss him. But the good thing is they do get Latrell Mitchell back at fullback in his preferred position, back off suspension. We also see Shaq Mitchell back in the squad. Saliva Havili is a big in as well. And Jamie Humphries is back in the 7. So for me, this is massive for them. Obviously, Wayne Bennett not really leaning into Lewis Dodd, banished him back to the shadow realm. So, we see Jamie Humphries come back into the 7 and Jaden Sullivan manning the 6 jersey until we see Cody Walker back in the team. Bailey Bentley Harpe still on the wing with Fletcher Myers there, Campbell Graham and Tass at centre. But having Trell at the back and having Humphries in the 7 will make the Rabbitohs a much more competitive team against the Broncos here. Jai Arrow moves from the 13 to the prop jerseys to number 8. With Saliva Havili thankfully back from injury in the 9 jersey, covering for Pete Mamazelis there. Ewan Aitken on the edges and Tallis Duncan, but Lockie Hubner back in the 13 jersey. So if you did hold for a week there and you weren't quite sure what to do with Lockie Hubner, maybe he's a hold this week to see what he can do for you. If he's not going to bleed too much cash, he could actually score quite well this week. I'd naturally think that with a bench of Kepi, Moali and Liam LeBlanc, I think there's every chance we'll probably see Jai Arrow shift to the 13 to spell Hubner, and we'll see one of the boys like Moali or Kepi move into the front row there. So, very similar team to what we've seen over the last couple of weeks with those really big changes there, thankfully, for the Rabbitohs. So looking like a better, more well-rounded squad, I should say. As we'll see for the Broncos, no real changes here, same back 5. Basically the same starting 13, I should say. As we saw last week, we see Fletcher Baker in the 17 jersey this week, so that's pretty much the only notable change. But Jaden Hunt in the 21 jersey, so dropping out of the team. And I'm expecting the Broncos to get this one done, but I do think that it will be a little bit closer than it should be, than we expect. So I'm not expecting the Rabbitohs to roll over completely in this one, but I think they will just get outmanned against the Broncos. So let's move to the first game Saturday, 3 p.m. We've got the Raiders. We've got first, second here. This is going to be an absolute banger. Could be the game of the round. Raiders playing some awesome footy and the Bulldogs just being a defensive fortress this year. So as you'll see, the coaches are backing their teams in this one. You will see very, very minimal changes here to either team as we move through both of those squads. Jacob Carraz in fantastic form. Scoring a hat-trick last week, and hopefully for all of the fantasy and super coaches out there, you'll expect plenty more of that as an owner. I'd be a little bit wary about Origin 1. I honestly think that he's a front runner for that right wing spot for New South Wales, so keep an eye on that if you're considering bringing him in this week. Corey Horsburgh, he's getting further testing done on the Category 1 HIA that the independent doctor deemed him as, so off the field, and supposedly failed his HIA with the Category 1 HIA. Now, they're going to be challenging that, and they're going to be getting further testing the Raiders to ensure that Corey Horsburgh can get on the field for this game. So that'll be a really big in for them if that happens. And if they fail that, I'd naturally assume that, you got so many options on offer. You've got Zach Hosking and Josh Papali'i just sitting on the bench there, ready to fill that void along with Artem Mariota. So, same team as they've ran out. Now, another one for the Bulldogs here as we go through their team is that Jacob Preston obviously is fighting his crusher charge that we saw. It was a pretty soft charge, let's be honest. So I think Jacob Preston, look, if all common sense prevails, he should get off this. But if by some miracle he doesn't, he'll miss out. I would naturally think that Jamin Salmon just moves to an edge and we see someone like Kurt Mann or Bailey Hayward in the 17 jersey come into the 13 there to lock the scrum. So otherwise, the two coaches, Seraldo, Ricky Stewart, are really backing their teams and they're in fantastic form. There's not too many changes needed to be made here. So just worth keeping an eye out on news on Horsburgh and on how Jacob Preston goes tonight at the Judiciary. Now let's move into the 5:30 game, Dragons Warriors on Saturday. A few changes here for the Dragons, but the big one, Emre Gula, he's going to be out. He's going to miss some time, sadly. So we'll see here there's going to be a change on the bench. Loco Pacifica Tonga got a lot of pump up for the Dragons in the preseason from super coaches and fantasy players Australia-wide. So he gets a look now, which is fantastic to see. I'd love to see the big fella get a run. So aside from that, the positives here from the Dragons are that Dylan Egan remains starting and Hamish Stewart also remains starting in the 13. So some good signs there for these guys that are going to hopefully continue to make some money in Supercoach and fantasy. But I think for the Dragons, it probably leaves them a little bit undermanned, if I'm completely honest. Toby Couchman's been huge for them. Like in King Tonga, he was a revelation in his first game. But Lockie Ilias put on a clinic in New South Wales Cup in his first game down there. So, we'll see Ilias here onto the extended bench in the 20 and Blake Laurie in the 21 there, pushing their cases. So be interesting to see whether Pacifica Tonga can hold on to that 17 jersey or whether we see a late change there. For the Warriors, we do see a couple of troops back, which is fantastic, and that's the plenty of acronyms going on, and it's Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. He is back for the Warriors, a huge in for them. And we will also see at the bottom of the screen, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is on the extended bench. So plenty of positives here for the Warriors to get two of their really gunny outside backs back in this team, and I think that should definitely make them a much more competitive team moving forward, as good as they've already been this season without two of their main guys. So credit to them. I'd naturally think that we see maybe Tani Tuapiki drop out for RTS. We've got Kurt Capel in the centres again here. So interesting to see whether we do see a late shuffle. But Jackson Ford starting at prop while we've got no James Fisher-Harris, still no sign of him, sadly. And we see Mitch Barnett partner him in the front row. Leka Halasima stays on an edge. Big win. So, it's looking like they're starting to lean into Leka a lot more, which he's absolutely earned the right, in my opinion. So, plenty of positives. There. Aaron Clark has also been a monster. We see Jacob Lagan come back in onto the bench, which is great for the Wars. And Bunty Afoa, everybody's favourite there. So we look at the extended bench, and like I mentioned, RTS, I'd be very surprised if he's named on the extended bench and then not named or not coming into that squad. So keep an eye out on late changes there for RTS and the Warriors. My tips for the Raiders Bulldogs, first of all, it's going to be a tough one to tip, I'll tell you. I'm probably going to back. And honestly, it comes down to whether Horsburgh's out. It comes down to whether Jacob Preston's out. I'm probably going to back the Raiders at home, if I'm honest. We've seen some chinks in the Bulldogs' armour so far. So, and the Raiders are playing some really good gutsy footy. So I'll back the Raiders in this one, and I will back the Warriors against the Dragons here. It is at Dragons at Wynn Stadium. So, they've got the home ground advantage. I just think the Warriors, if they do have DWZ and RTS back, I think they're going to be a bit too good in that one. Let's move on to the Cowboys and the Panthers here. 9th plays 15th. Who would have thought Panthers 15? We see Ruben Cotter. Now, he's going to be out for 2 weeks with suspension. So we see that Sam McIntyre has replaced him in the 13 jersey. The back row is all the same. The Cowboys have started to put together some good footy over the last month to 6 weeks as well. Definitely one of the informed teams in the comp and have a really nice run of games at home inside Queensland. So, you'd be silly not to be looking at a few of these guys if you're playing Supercoach or Fantasy. As we see here, Sam McIntyre in the 13, Harrison Edwards in the 14 on the bench there. But for the most part, their bench looks exactly the same and no real late changes I could see happening unless Kai O'Donnell comes into the team there on the bench. But I would assume this is the way that they line up. some big ins for Penrith, and probably the reason why I might even be leaning Penrith in this one, strangely, is we do see Maverick Geyer out, but we see Mitch Kenny back at hooker. We see Brian To'o back in the team as well on the wing, which just strengthens their backline so much. And with those carries out of his own end, he's going to get Penrith so much better field position if their back's against the wall. So we see Alamotti and To'o on the wings, Tungo and Luke Garner in the centres. Now, you will see a very popular name very soon in the 17 jersey in Tom Jenkins, which is an interesting play. I'm not quite sure whether this is how they line up. There might be Luke Garner might potentially pop out or drop to the bench when we see Tom Jenkins come into the 4 jersey there in the centres. Moses Leota and Lindsay Smith at prop. Isaiah Papali'i gets his start with Liam Martin on the edges as Ayo locks the scrum. And Brad Schneider is also back in the 14 jersey. So we see Trent Tolau, as good as he was, he drops out of the team. Liam Henry also drops back to the bench there as he's been covering in the front row rotation. So another guy to keep an eye on is Liron Patea, who has been fantastic and put up a monster score last week. So we see Luke Summerton, who's been doing some cover at the hooker in the hooker position. He drops onto the extended bench along with Dane Laurie, Casey McLean, Trent Tolau, and Matthew Eisenhuth. Now we do see the number 1, Dylan Edwards, he has been named. Obviously, we saw him go down, clutch a hammy, and then go off the field. So he's definitely going to be one to look at. And we see when Dane Laurie comes back onto the team on the extended bench, we know that there's something going on there. So, yeah, let's keep an eye out for some Dylan Edwards news. Regardless, I think as good as the Cowboys have been, I think Penrith can probably put it together here, and I reckon they're a chance of knocking off the Cowboys as a bit of a roughie. They are favoured, though, by the bookies at $1.60. So there might be some value in taking the Cowboys line there. Storm versus the Tigers, first game Sunday. And you'll see here very minimal amount of changes to be made, but there probably will be a late change very soon for the Tigers. We'll get to that very soon. But Farlongo and Coates still know Will Warbrick. He is suffering delayed concussion symptoms. So hopefully he's on the road to recovery. But yeah, Farlongo's been electric, hasn't he, so far this year? So hopefully he can make the most of his opportunity. Otherwise, Bronson Garlick still in the 9, the big omission. That there was rumor that he was going to be back, but sadly, no Harry Grant again this week. So anybody who sold about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, whenever the injury first happened, you're probably in a pretty good spot now. So Bronson Garlick still in the 9 jersey for now. Then we see Tyron Wishart in the 14, McDonald, Kamikamika, and Joe Chan rounding out the bench there. So let's move over to the Tigers very quickly. Jareem Buller at fullback. We do see Brent Naden named. So Brent Naden obviously went off the field, didn't make it through the game for the Tigers with their knee injury. And we see Far Tarpe on the bench here, on the extended bench, I should say. So I think there's every chance we'll see Far Tarpe come in for Brent Naden. When we find out a bit more news, they're probably just waiting on scan results before they completely rule him out. But I would say he's very long odds to play in this one. Lockie Galvin and Jerome Luai, still no Latu Fainu. But the back row all looks the same. The bench looks exactly the same as what we've seen from the Tigers all year pretty much so far. And yeah, like I said, Far Tarpe in the 20 jersey, probably likely to come in and replace Naden for the Tigers. I think the Storm are going to be too good here, but I don't. Usually I'd go against the Tigers unanimously in games like this, and the Storm are paying $1.17. But, you know, the Tigers have got some fight about them now, and the Storm have definitely shown that they've got some kinks in their armour as well as the Bulldogs. So, yeah, it's going to be hard to go down to Melbourne and beat the Storm. But, yeah, as a Tigers supporter, you can only hope, can't you? Let's move on to the last games. Sea Eagles and the Sharks, another close game. So we've got some really close matchups this weekend. We do see Gordon Chan Kum Tong. He is out. And we see Gerbo, Jake Trebojevic back in the team along with Jason Saab for Manly. So very good result there for them. Tom Trebojevic still at the back there for Manly. Jason Saab comes back onto the wing. We see Tolu Kohler at centre, Leo Hopewadi on the wing, and then Garrick at other centre. Jake Trebojevic back in the prop rotation here, so we don't see him in the 13 jersey. We do see Jazz Tavanga locking the scrum there, so interesting to see whether there's a late switch there as well. Jake Simpkin at hooker. Tommy Talau moving back into that utility 14 position that we saw him play a couple of times leading into their bye last week. So a big win for Manly coming into a bye there that Jake Trebojevic obviously gets to not miss any games off the back of his 11-day stand down. So, yeah, that's a great result for the Manly Sea Eagles. And the bench rounds itself out, as it always does, with Waddell, Talau, Bullymore, and Brown. And last team of the week, we see Talakai. He's going to be out for a little bit as well, sadly. So we'll see a change here in the team. But for the most part, they're going to line up nearly 1-17 with the starting 13 pretty much exactly the same. Billy Burns, he gets another go. He's still on the edge. Teague Wilton now another week away, as per the Sharks. So, yes, very, very big win for Billy Burns. Buyers, I think it was 3 weeks ago now, you would have got some half-decent cash out of him now. It's gone to show now, I think we've got enough enough of an idea with the Kale Iro return, as well as Teague Wilton, that they are, the Sharks, more open to taking their time and making sure they're being conservative with their players on injury return, which is obviously great for the players. So worth noting for any future injuries to these stars in Supercoach or fantasy formats, that maybe the Sharks will take a little bit of time bringing these guys back. Jesse Colquhoun also onto the bench. I'm a big Jesse Colquhoun fan, so hopefully he can have a good game there. But he comes onto the bench there for Sifa Talakai in the 15 jersey. And then the extended bench, I don't think we're going to see any late changes there. So, guys, that is TLT for round 10. We're about a couple of rounds away from the major buy now. So we've got this week and next week before major buys. We're going to see a lot less games through those weekends. A little bit depressing as a rugby league fan, but hopefully for you super coaches and fantasy players out there, you're starting to get your teams in order for that period. Guys, if you like what you saw here, give it a thumbs up. And give it a share on socials. Tell your mates about it. Short little 20-minute summary on everything of the ins and outs and what's happening across your rugby league team, all for your Supercoach fantasy game day squad dream team teams as well. So hopefully you like it, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, so you don't miss any of the future episodes. Guys, Matrix and Whisperer will be live tonight for all of you that want to get in on the Q&A. So their subscriber Q&A is going to be coming out tonight, roughly around that 9:30, 10 o'clock mark. It'll be live for all of our subscribers inside the Patreon. So if you want to become a member, you can do that via the link below there to support the show. Otherwise, we will be back for our live preview for round 10 on Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. We'll see you then.